Getting your home under contract is a massive milestone, but it doesn't mean you can coast to the finish line just yet. The next major hurdle is the buyer's home inspection request. When that document comes back, it is rarely a pleasant read. Buyers will often send over a laundry list of demands, asking you to fix everything from a loose doorknob to a decade-old HVAC system. For sellers, this is where emotions run incredibly high. You feel attacked. You feel like the buyer is trying to nickel and dime you, and your natural instinct is to get defensive. But the repair negotiation phase is a business transaction, and handling it poorly can cause a great deal to collapse instantly. If you want to keep your sale on track and protect your hard-earned equity, here are the top 5 mistakes that sellers make when negotiating repairs. Now, if you're finding this information helpful, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Now, the first major mistake is getting deeply offended and taking the repair list personally. It is completely natural to feel defensive when someone hands you a 20-page document pointing out every single flaw in a house that you've loved and maintained for years. Sellers, they often react with anger, saying things like, "I lived here for 10 years and the roof never leaked, so I'm not fixing a thing." But you have to remember that the home inspector's job is literally to find defects. It isn't a personal attack on you or your pride of ownership. When you let anger dictate your counteroffer, you risk alienating an otherwise fully qualified buyer. Treating the repair request like a cold, hard business negotiation instead of an emotional battle is key. Most purchase contracts strictly require a licensed professional invoice to sign off on repairs. Now, the second critical error is trying to handle complex technical repairs yourself instead of hiring a licensed professional. When a buyer asks for an electrical issue to be fixed or for a furnace component to be serviced, a handy seller might think, "Oh, well, I can save $300 by doing it myself by watching a tutorial or something like that on YouTube." This is a massive trap. Standard real estate contracts almost always specify that repairs must be completed by a licensed, certified professional in that specific trade, with receipts provided before closing. If a buyer walks through the final walkthrough and sees a DIY patch job on the electrical panel instead of an invoice from a licensed electrician, they can refuse to close. Even worse, if your amateur repair fails, later on, you open yourself up to massive legal liability after the sale. Third, many sellers make the mistake of insisting on doing the physical repairs themselves instead of offering a cash credit or a price reduction at closing. Sellers assume that making the repairs themselves is cheaper, but managing contractors, scheduling the work around your packing schedule and work schedule, and rushing to get receipts before a closing deadline introduces an extra level of stress that you may not want. It is almost always smarter to offer the buyer a repair credit or whatever at closing, right? This means you simply deduct the estimated cost for the repair from your proceeds, allowing the buyer to hire their own trusted contractors to do the work exactly how they want it after they take ownership. It completely removes the logistical headache from your plate and eliminates any arguments over the quality of workmanship during the final walkthroughs. Now, the fourth common mistake is failing to verify the actual cost of a requested repair before saying no or walking away from the deal. When a buyer asks for something that sounds catastrophic, like a localized sewer line repair or a special electrical panel upgrade, sellers often panic, assuming that will cost tens of thousands of dollars and instantly kill the negotiations. In reality, many major sounding issues can be fully resolved for a few hundred or a couple $1,000s. Now, before you flatly refuse a request and risk letting the buyer walk out on the deal, I really recommend that you have your agent bring in a trusted independent contractor to give you a real itemized quote. Having accurate numbers allows you to make the educated financial decision that is best for you versus reacting out of fear or anger. Finally, the fifth mistake sellers make is forgetting about the law and mandatory disclosures. A lot of sellers think that if a buyer's demands are too high, they can just tell the buyer to kick the rocks, cancel the contract, and put the house back on the market to find someone maybe less picky. But what they don't realize is that once a home inspection report is officially handed over to you and your agent, you legally now know about every single defect uncovered in that report. In almost every real estate market, you are legally required to update your official seller's disclosure form to reflect those newly discovered issues for the next buyer. If the first buyer finds a cracked heater exchanger in your furnace and you back out of that contract, you must explicitly disclose that cracked heat exchanger to the next person who writes an offer. You cannot run away from a bad inspection report, so it is almost always better to negotiate with that buyer that you currently have on the hook rather than starting fresh from scratch with a damaged listing. Now, surviving the repair negotiation phase requires a calm mind and a focus that has a bigger picture outlook, right? Your goal is to sell the asset for the highest possible net profit with the lowest amount of liability. And sometimes making a few smart concessions is the cheapest insurance policy to guarantee a successful closing. Now, if you are getting ready to put your home on the market and you want an expert negotiator who knows how to navigate the inspection phase, vet buyer requests, and to protect your hard-earned equity from unreasonable demands, reach out to me today. Let's build a strategy to get you safely across that finish line.